Welcome to our West Jordan City Council. We're happy to have you with us here tonight. We have council members Pack and Worthen online. We have council member McConaughey, Bloom, Whitelock, Green, and Jacob in chambers, and many staff members. So welcome and thank you for being here. I realized that I didn't get a name. I think Mr. Anderson will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
It falls to me when I didn't get somebody. Would the audience please stand and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
We are going to start with public comment. If you are either here in chambers with us or online, you are welcome to participate. Members of the City Council strive to create a respectful, orderly, and effective meeting where everyone can feel safe, respected, and comfortable participating in their government. When addressing the council, please provide your full name and city of residence. You will have 3 minutes. If you are here for a public hearing item, you will have time then to speak to the agenda item. If joining via Zoom, raise your hand in the chat and wait to be called on. If joining via telephone, push *9 and wait to be called on, then push *6 to speak. Written comments may be submitted to the council comments at westjordan.utah.gov or by calling our 24-hour line at 801-569-5017. Is there anyone online that wishes to participate? Please indicate. Is there anyone here? Please come to the podium. Seeing none, I will close public comments and bring it back. We have a special recognition tonight. We have Mr. Steve Brownlee. He is the sales strategy and sales operation person for Walker Edison. Walker Edison is a relatively new business in our city. They are located on 9,000 South and about 1,700 West. Nope, about 1,600 West, because they're not on Redwood. They were presented the International Business of the Year Award by Governor Cox. So, Mr. Brownlee, we're happy to have you here. Please come up. We'd love to shake your hand and grab a picture, and we have a pin and a plaque for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You want me to, where do you want to stand? Right here?
That'll work.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming over.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for the recognition.
Tell everybody about the
We like having new businesses. We welcome them. We're grateful for them joining our city. Next up, we have the mayor's report. Mayor Burton.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here again today. As everybody here, I hope, knows, we had Western Stampede over Independence Day holiday weekend. I hope everybody was able to participate in one fashion or another. It was a great, fantastic, successful event, and we're glad for everyone who participated. And, you know, it just amazes me, of course you know, because you were there, how good that rodeo is and how fantastic those riders are. I'm pleasantly surprised every year how good it is, and the parade and all the other things that went over there as well. Something else that happened on July 4th, which kind of snuck up on me. I got a call from a neighborhood that said they're having a neighborhood party and they're serving breakfast to their neighbors on the 4th of July and asked if I could come over and meet them. So I said, sure. And so I went there and they had some pastries and things there for breakfast and some neighbors showed up. But all of a sudden this black Suburban pulls into the parking lot and these 5 people dressed in black suits, sunglasses, and black ties came walking up. They were 5 Copper Hills High School students that decided they were going to be my security for the day. And they surrounded me and kept an eye on me the whole time at the park as people have an opportunity to meet the mayor. And as you can see, I came back safe. I'll be posting that picture perhaps on Facebook soon, but that was a fun event there. I want to remind everybody that the 24th of July, which is on a Sunday, will be recognized on Monday, the 25th of July for our city. So our city offices will be closed on July 25th this year. So if you need some work done, come see us after that or before. Sugar Factory Playhouse is putting on the play called 12 Dancing Princesses. It's happening right now. If you haven't gotten your tickets for it yet, except for tonight, I would recommend you get some tickets and go see that. I have my tickets for it, so I will be going to go watch that. And speaking of new businesses, I want to tell you about a new business called Air Resources, and that's owned and run by a gentleman called Sean Reed. It's been in West Jordan for 8 months, and I just learned about it last week. As you know, we have monthly meetings with South Valley Regional Airport and Salt Lake City Division of Airports to discuss South Valley Regional Airport. And in our meeting last week, they took me over to go meet a new business that has moved in here from Salt Lake City to our, or I call it ours, because it's in our city, our airport here. And they've been here for 8 months now. And what they do is they buy surplus Apache helicopters from the Army and they convert them over to firefighting helicopters that carry the water and do things like that. Then they rent them out all across the country, mostly in the western states, but they have some in Florida as well. And they, after they treat and convert the helicopters, they fly them out there, and then they got to find a way to get their people back and leave them there. And they provide maintenance on them because they're rented the whole time. So they employ about 22 employees. Their annual payroll is about $2 million, and they're here in West Jordan. And that is really a pretty cool thing. They have had good success in the last few years and plan to expand, and so there are businesses located at the airport. And that's in addition to the 4 flight schools that we already have there, and then the maintenance there that does the aviation things, which also employ people. And at our last meeting, I turned to there and I said, tell me what your favorite restaurant is in Jordan Landing. Well, I had half a dozen people that couldn't tell me. So our next meeting is going to be at one of those restaurants in Jordan Landing, so they'll know which their favorite one is. Okay, that is the end of my report. Unless you have some specific questions, thank you for letting me report.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
It's been a busy couple of weeks for staff, particularly because of Western Stampede. I'm glad the mayor mentioned it. Thank you for your participation, for your help. We had a great time. I particularly just want to say thank you to the staff who put on the event. It takes hundreds of employees from every department of the city to put on the Western Stampede event, and they did a great job this year. We're very thankful for them. Hopefully you had a good time. If you had any thoughts on things that went well or things that could be improved, please share those with me as we're circling back and making plans for next year. I would really like your input. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is a report from Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District. Mr. Summers. Mr. Summers, you need to push the button on the right.
Right.
There you go. Thank
Hey.
you.
Good evening. It's good to be with you tonight. And as mentioned by one of your council members, it's a good thing that district boards are required to report on tax rate increases. It helps us feel accountable. And I would like to just basically read through that. Nice. You got that on your screens, I presume. Okay. Jordan Water Conservancy District is proposing a property tax increase for its fiscal year 2022-23 budget. A public hearing is scheduled for August the 10th to 2022 at 6 p.m. where citizens will be are invited to attend and ask questions or make comments. A growing service area and increasing water demands requires additional water supplies and infrastructure costing millions of dollars. Summary information regarding Jordan Valley's proposed property tax increase. Total budgeted revenue for the year is $88 million. Property tax revenue is a percentage of total budgeted revenue, 27%, so it's just over a quarter. Amount of additional increase from the proposed property tax increase, $1.7 million. Percent increase in property tax revenue is 7.8%. The percent increase in property tax revenue to the total annual cost of water for an average residence is 1.7%. If we could have the rest of the slide, please. So what does that mean for the average homeowner? I understand that the average property value in Jordan Valley's district is $550,000. And I always kind of choke on that number because that means my little house that I live in is worth over $450,000. And I paid $180,000 for it about in 1993. So these numbers are meaningful. The current annual property tax for that home, that average home, $89.54 for a business. Of that same value, $162.80. The new annual property tax for that home is $96.50. For that business of the same value is $175.45. And the annual property tax increase for that home is about $7 and about $12.65 for a business with that valuation. And what do we do with all that money? When you look through the cost of the things that is required in our district to keep water flowing to everyone, it's you wonder where the money's going to come from. But we have great people there at the district who can figure that out. They've got treatment plant upgrades and expansion, $84.7 million. 2 new storage reservoirs, $32.4. New wells and groundwater development, $12.9. And new booster pump station, $7 million. New debt and bonds to be issued, $150 million. That is my report.
Wonderful. I have one question, if you could answer for people. Your public hearing is August 10th. Where is that located?
What's that?
Where is your public hearing located?
At the Jordan Valley office building.
Yeah, let me give you the address. My name is Bart Forsyth, General Manager, Jordan Valley Water. The property tax hearing will be held at Jordan Valley Water District's headquarters site located at 8215 South, 1300 West in West Jordan.
Thank you.
Is that at the Conservation Gardens or near?
It'll be at our administration building. So it's the first building behind the education center.
Gotcha, okay. Same area.
You know, they're purposely holding the hearings this year because the road's under construction, hoping people will stay away.
No, they're holding it because it's required, actually. Okay, are there any clarifying questions? Councilmember Jacob?
Yeah, I don't know if you'll have this right off the top of your head, but what is your current, in other words, the previous fiscal year that just ended, tax rate versus what would the county proposed and versus what you want to change it to? Does that make sense? The truth in taxation process.
The certified
is
rate.
Backwards.
I've seen those numbers, but I didn't put them in my head.
Bart, do you know?
Mr. Forsyth?
So our maximum mill levy is 0004. The certified tax rate is 000296 currently.
Okay.
It's been eroding quite rapidly because of the increasing property values
Right.
in our service area. And with the property tax increase, the proposed certified tax rate then would be 000319.
Okay, perfect. That's exactly the numbers I needed. Thank you.
Councilmember Green?
So I'm assuming, and that's difficult to, I know it's not good to assume, but it looks like almost all the property tax revenue goes to infrastructure. Is that correct?
Some of it goes to maintenance, I'm sure.
So the property tax proceeds, for the most part, support our bonding activities and support our financing of capital infrastructure. So yes, to answer your question, it essentially helps pay our debt service.
Councilmember Bloom?
Is that public meeting going to be available online or is it just in person?
It's online.
It'll be both.
It'll be both?
It'll be conducted both virtually and in person.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's all the questions, so I will go ahead and open the public hearing. If you are here or online to speak to this, please go ahead and come up to the lectern or raise your hand in the chat or push *9 if you're via telephone. Seeing none, I will close this public hearing, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, we have a public hearing to consider ordinance number 22-19, a petition by Gardner Company, Ben C. Strand, requesting the approval of a master development agreement for, of course, a Jones Landing, because we like that name, Jones. Mr. Jensen, you're here for this?
I am, thank you.
Excellent.
Chair.
Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Okay. Typically, we like to hear from the applicant, and then if we have any clarifying questions, we'll bring you up. Is that all right?
That's awesome.
All right.
We're going to need you, don't you worry. We got you. Ben C. Strand with the Gardner Company, 201 South Main Street in Salt Lake City, Utah. We are really thrilled to be here before you today. It's been kind of a long time coming. I'm glad we're getting some moisture, just a side note, but
I know.
it's a beautiful sound.
Yeah, keep
It kind of sounds nice. It's like it sounds like my toddler's sound machine at home, ready to put me to sleep.
Mr. Lee, yeah, we'd like the door open. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Sorry, I'll try to stay
Sorry.
focused. I'll do my best here. So, this has been a long time coming. We've been working with the Jones family and have loved working with the Jones family in partnership to help develop their considerable acreage out in this area. When we started this process about 2.5 years ago with them, we really looked at how can we look at this development and this property, not from a standpoint of just doing kind of a patchwork quilt of projects, right? And try to take a macro approach, looking at the overall area, goals for the city, what works from, the market standpoint, and try to align those with kind of the given landscape that's already there. And so this is a product of that. It's kind of a phase one. It's something that we've worked with a lot with the city staff, as we've developed the Southwest Quadrant zone and ordinance with them and played a part in that. This rezone aligns with what that's a use that we see within that zone. It's something they've helped us develop to just kind of help us go as everything else has taken a long time. As you mentioned, there's a master development agreement that runs alongside this where we take into account the infrastructure constraints for the area. But essentially it boils down to really just a rezone of how this fits into that Southwest Quadrant, general plan for uses, seeing the surrounding area and what's there. We view this as really a straightforward use for being that manufacturing M1 zone, and that's what we've always planned on being there. So that's why this specific area is up for the rezone, and that's why we're looking at that. We're looking at doing 2 buildings right there side by side. We'd start with 1 building to the easternmost kind of half of that. But that's an overview. I'm sure I botched that, and Taylor can fill in, but I'm happy to answer any questions or talk more about this with you.
Council, are there any clarifying questions that you have for the applicant? Apparently you did a good job.
Wow.
Are there any questions for Mr. Jensen? Okay, I will then open this public hearing. If you are here to speak to the Jones Landing, please indicate by coming to the lectern or raising your hand in the chat or pushing *9. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for deliberation and a motion. Vice Chair Green.
You took the slide off, Alan. I just wanted to make mention that I'm glad to see the Gardner Company here building in West Jordan. I'm looking forward to this. If anybody is unfamiliar with this particular company, just look to the east across the Jordan River for the facility that I wish we were getting on the west side of the river that wasn't on some old EPA Superfund site. So the land was, of course, the construction is probably super expensive with all those pylons. So with that being said, and I haven't seen anything, hold on, I just want to make sure that I got this. There it is. Nice job, Cindy. I move to approve ordinance number 22-19, a petition by Gardner Company / Ben C. Strand requesting the approval of the master development agreement for Jones Landing located at 6835 West, 9800 South.
Councilmember Bloom.
I will second that.
We have a motion by Councilmember Green, a second by Councilmember Bloom. Any discussion to the motion?
When Cindy does it.
I would like to echo Vice Chair Green. I'm excited to see the growth out there and commercial growth. It's something that our residents ask for, to have more commercial. So, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Ms. Quick, we're ready for a roll call vote when you're ready. Just Councilmember Bloom.
Your mic's not on, Cindy.
Okay, so I show Councilmember Vice Chair Green motioned, and Councilmember Bloom seconded the motion. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank
I
you.
just want to take a second and let everyone know that we are implementing a new software tonight. And so if we're a little bit, if it takes us a little bit longer, we apologize and ask for your patience. We appreciate it as we work through this. In the end, we feel it will be a much improved system for everyone. This quick.
Thank you. Vice Chair Green.
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom.
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob.
Yes.
Councilmember Worthen.
Yes.
Councilmember Pack.
Yes.
Councilmember McConaughey. And Chair Whitelock.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
Next, we will consider ordinance 22-22, a petition made by Gardner Company for a zoning map amendment or rezone at 6835 West, 9800 South, rezone approximately 62 acres from A20 Agriculture 28 minimum lots zone to M1 Light Manufacturing Zone. Ben Seastrand, applicant.
Ben Seastrand here. I'm sorry, I spoke to this one on the first one as well, so I won't continue to ramble. I just need to up my game and get used to presenting first. But again, I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any on this. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the applicant? I see none. So I will open the public hearing. If you are here to speak to this zoning change, please indicate or come to the lectern. I see none, so I'll bring it back to the council for deliberation and possible motion. Vice Chair Green.
I move to approve ordinance number 22-22. Is that a lucky number? That's not part of the motion, by the way. Ordinance number 22-22, an ordinance for approximately 62 acres of property located at 6835 West, 9800 South, identified as Jones Landing Manufacturing Development and rezoned from the A20 zone, agricultural 20-acre lot zone to M1 zone, light manufacturing zone.
Councilmember Bloom.
And I will second that.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Green and a second by Councilmember Bloom. Ms. Quick, roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Chair Whitelock,
Yes.
Councilmember Worthen,
Yes.
Councilmember Pack,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Councilmember McConaughey.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloom,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Green.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
Next, we are to consider ordinance 22-30, amending the 2009 West Jordan City Code Title 8, Chapter 14, Section 7, grave decorations, and Section 8, markers and monuments. I can't remember your last name.
Doller.
Mr. Doller.
My name's Kelly Doller. I am the.
All I
in
could
fact,
think was Kelly.
It's
Sorry.
all right. The cemetery sexton for our cemetery down here on 13 West, 800 South. So we're presenting today just some changes or additions to the cemetery ordinance for grave decorations and for markers and monuments. The purpose of the grave decorations is just to bring some clarity to what our expectations are for the family members visiting their grave sites, what the expectations will be for decorations, and for what our cleanup and new cleanup routine will be for them, so they know what to expect. Markers and monuments, we're just adding before it didn't have an overall size, now we're just adding what the overall size of the monuments can be, so that the marker and monument companies know what to expect when they're manufacturing the monuments for their families. So, is there any questions that I can answer?
Does anyone have questions? Councilmember McConaughey.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Does this impact benches?
No. As it stands now, we still, in our ordinance, have in there that we don't allow benches in the cemetery.
Let's see, this one's a public hearing, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll save my commentary for after. Thank you.
Okay.
On line 18 through 20, it says the sexton will decide when the decorations, basically for a funeral, after a funeral, when they're no longer, I got to get to it to find it.
When they become unsightly?
Yes,
Yes.
unsightly is the word. So only the sexton, not those not the parks people that are mowing the lawns?
Well, they usually, they do, they know when to clean them up, but generally they take the direction from me of when to go clean up. And that's why we have in there also to do cleanup on Tuesdays.
Right.
Then that gives us a specific day that they know that they, if they are unsightly, that they can, or they know that they've been, because they do help me with the burials, so they have an understanding of when that burial happened. And it's typically, I mean, flowers don't last about a week anyway, so they can generally make that decision as well, but.
Okay. And then on line 64, I believe it calls out the chief administrator officer. And I wondered why the mayor was not. I feel the mayor should be there as well. It should be the chief administrator, the mayor, or their designee. But that's just me, so I wondered why the mayor wasn't included.
And that's is that in regards to the markers and monuments?
The city administrator or his or her designee may grant an exception
Oh, for the overall.
for the height of the headstone, tombstone, or marker.
I can speak to that for a sec. That's a carryover from the former government change when we took city manager to CAO generally.
That's what I figured, that's why I wondered why.
And
we
it's
did.
not an intent one way or the other. This would be a good time to address that. Now, think about whether you want that to be a staff administrative decision or up to an elected official decision.
My thought, and I missed this one, so nice job. My thought would be that the wording should be the mayor or his or her, the mayor or designee, and then the mayor can designate whoever he wants in staff to do it, whether that be the CAO, Parks Department. That leaves it up to the mayor's discretion. And as we talk about wheelhouses and those kind of things that we talked about before, I'd rather leave that with the mayor.
I would as well, so when we get to the motion part, if we want that, we'll need to add that, I would guess. Mr. Wall, is that correct? Yes, okay. All right, any other questions? I don't see any, so I will open the public hearing. If you're here to speak to this item, please come forward or raise your hand in the chat or push star 9. I see none, so I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for deliberation and possible motion. Councilmember McConaughey.
Thank you, Chair. So one of the things that I would have liked to have seen is an accommodation to allow for certain types of benches there as well. I recognize that the conversations about this happened with the prior cemetery sexton.
Right.
And actually, I think it was even a prior council at the time. But my conversations with them was the issue with the benches were the way they were constructed, and they weren't necessarily doweled properly if there was a back on it, and that caused issues when the lawn maintenance
It was a
equipment
specific
came by.
bench in the cemetery that.
However, if there are benches that have just like the simple T shape or like have bookends with the top across, those could have been permissible, but our code just kind of flat says no deal.
Right.
So I personally would like, if the council's amenable to seeing a modification there, the reason this kind of hits close to home is we have a friend who lost a young child, and they wanted the ability to do a bench there. There are other benches out there, but they couldn't. They spent a lot of time at that place. It's a very, very personal, very, very sacred place. And if we can make accommodations for certain types of benches, I'd like to see it. Same thing with my father, who was laid to rest there. We didn't have that opportunity. So if the council's amenable, I'd love to see that as an additional modification.
If I can speak to that,
Please.
I did have a headstone come in recently that they found, I'd say, a creative way to get around our no bench. And it's within our ordinance of how they made it, because we allow for the overall depth of the headstone to be 24 inches, Well, that doesn't say that the stone itself can't be 12 inches thick. So they made their stone 12 inches thick with a flat on top of it, which essentially acts as a bench.
Yeah, and while in most cases I would encourage creativity,
Yeah.
I don't think I necessarily want to encourage creativity to find ways to circumvent poorly written
No.
code. But no, I, no,
And I, you know, I
get
thought
where
it
you're
was,
coming from.
I thought it was,
No, I get where you're coming
You know.
from, and I really do appreciate the willingness to work with residents and those who unfortunately need the services of the cemetery to make sure that we can get something for them. I very much do appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'd like to try and make it simpler, though.
yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
So I have concerns with this. It's a very emotional time, and it's a very emotional thing. And while I want to make it easier for staff, when I read through this, there are so many limitations at our cemetery, and I don't necessarily see, they're either not at other cemeteries or they're not followed. That I don't know.
So,
So I'm concerned that we're so restrictive that it takes the personal element out of something that is very personal to people.
so when I was rewriting this and going through this, I did do research of other cemeteries in the valley and read through a lot of their ordinances and kind of picked and chose and followed some of those ones that are in the valley. And compared to what they have, we are not that restrictive. Sandy, for example, theirs is, they clean up every Tuesday and don't allow anything. If you drive through Sandy, they don't have decorations out.
But if I drive, I don't know, if I go past Redwood,
Redwood Memorial, that's a private cemetery. That's not
I-
a city cemetery.
I understand, but loved ones in our cemetery, loved ones in their cemetery. I
Right.
understand
And
that's
so-
private, this is government,
Yeah.
but the emotions are the same.
So my intent with this is to keep the decorations off of the grass. That's the intent. And it even says that they're allowed to be on the headstone, but not out in the grass. I don't have the staff or the resources to go through and clean decorations off the grass like they were.
Yeah,
And with the fencing, they're putting fencing up. We're just trying to manage the expectations of what's allowed and what's not.
yeah.
We're not doing this to say we don't allow decorations. We do allow decorations, but we want them to be in a confined space on the headstone where we can still do our job at the cemetery with the mowing and keep it aesthetically pleasing for everybody to come visit.
And then I wonder, have you ever visited the cemetery in Huntsville by Eden? Is it Huntsville? I think it is.
I have not.
By Eden. They have some pretty amazing headstones, and we would not allow them.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe I just don't understand all of the whys in this, but some of it I find troubling. Councilmember McConaughey.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry to pipe up again.
That's okay.
So yeah, this December, it'll be 4 years ago that my father was interred over there. My mother stops by quite frequently, and she was pointing out how much better the cemetery has looked lately. It feels better, it feels a little more comfortable, and it feels a little less cluttered.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the trade-off is, well, now the grandkids can't come and do like the pinwheels for Papa Dennis, or we can't have like the little solar light thing that was there for like the 4th of July or something like that. You also see some of the families that couldn't afford a more expensive monument that try to do some of these more temporary things. And I know there's one right near my father's grave that it's been there for a couple of years. I want to be careful that we don't unintentionally injure those who are trying to maintain the memory of somebody who may not have financial means to do so, but still find a good way to keep things nice and clean and orderly.
Right.
I can appreciate the very fine line you're working to walk, and it very much is a tightrope act.
It is very
because-
much a fine line, trust me. I deal with it on a daily basis.
So I can appreciate where you're coming from. I can appreciate what you're trying to do. I also appreciate what Councilmember Whitelock's saying, where we want to try and, especially in these settings, be mindful of those who are there, but it's being mindful of all of those who are there too. So
Right.
I
And-
think it's a good stab. I'm not quite ready to support it yet, but I think we're going in a good direction. I think it could use a little more flexibility, maybe some clarity, like maybe allowing for a certain distance on the turf within the headstone, because they could be certain sizes. If somebody did something small, maybe we allow for an area.
Are you saying like allowing for decorations into the turf?
Like if they're touching the concrete that's surrounding it or
So,
something like that.
and I get that question a lot. The problem is I can't line trim around them if there's decorations there.
Yeah.
And then the grass grows up tall through it. So that's where I run into the issue is when they're in the grass, we can't do our maintenance around the headstones with the decorations there.
Or perhaps a timing saying it's allowed for the first, it may be removed the third or fourth week of the month or something like that. So they could do something for 2 weeks or something like that, but know that if they put in pinwheels, they may disappear. But again, your point was, well, we also need staff to go pick all those up if they're not going to do it.
Right. And we're out there mowing every single day, so.
It's tricky. So I'll.
And to your point, I mean, yes, you can put pinwheels out, and like I said, our ordinance is to come through and clean up every Tuesday. So if you put it out on Wednesday, essentially they will be there for a week.
As someone who visits and goes and seeks out cemeteries across the country, I know it's a weird thing. I find them very peaceful in solitude, and I've seen so many varieties. When I first saw this come across the agenda, my first initial thought was, oh no, I don't want to restrict family members going and doing their thing. But as I read through what you had proposed, I do see a lot. I see a ton from your side. And like Councilmember McConaughey, I think we're headed in a really good direction. And I think we have a little more dialogue to find a little bit more flexibility between you and what the public needs to find that very balance that we're trying to make.
So what is this flexibility? What is this?
I like the bench. In fact, benches had come to my mind too, because benches are a very peaceful and beautiful part of a cemetery that I don't want to see restricted. I want to see a little more leeway in some of the headstones, but as far as decoration goes, I almost think we need a little more conversation, because I don't want to restrict some people, but I also want to make sure we're not creating more burden to our staff. That's where I'm torn.
Right. And that's, in changing this, we didn't, with what was already in there, I already have the ability to go through and clean up these, because it does say and has said that the only approved decorations are flowers, artificial flowers and flags. So with that, regardless of whether I clean up on Tuesdays or confine them to the headstone, I already have that ability to go through and remove decorations if they don't fall under that. And that's been part of the ordinance as long as I've been with the cemetery. All I'm trying to do is bring expectations to, because I get asked a lot of what days do I come clean the cemetery up? What day do you clean it up? So that's why I added that, is because I get that question a lot. And now I can tell people, we come through and we will be cleaning decorations up on Tuesday. And just making it more clear that, yes, you can have decorations, but we want you to confine it to the headstone.
Vice Chair Green.
I'm to the point where, and I'm going to say, I think I want to table this, but let me just point out a couple of things as I've reread through this again. as Councilmember Whitelock pointed out in lines 19 and 20, it talks about the sole discretion of the cemetery sexton. I think we need to decide if that's sexton or if that's staff. Sole discretion of cemetery sexton means that if an employee did something, they violated an ordinance, and I'm not sure I want to put them in that part. The other one that I noticed is the one that Councilmember Whitelock talked about city administrator, but if you look down in the ordinance down closer to line 76, it also refers to the city administrator or designee designating materials. So I think we need to fix that up. The other thing that we need to fix up is cemetery sexton is capitalized in a couple of spots and not capitalized in another. And I think we need to decide what we're going to do there and either have them all capitalized or none capitalized. And the last thing that I would like to see in this is one that, this is going to sound crazy, but if you're familiar with the Veterans Administration, if you're a vet, you can either get the VA headstone or you can get an emblem. And the emblem gets attached to a regular headstone.
Correct.
The requirement is from the VA, and part of the reason why I keep delaying it for my dad, is that it requires cemetery approval, which I just think is dumb, to glue an emblem on a headstone. But I want to take the discretion out, and I want to put a line in here that says that VA emblems will be approved upon application or on submission, so that there's no question what the city will do when we get a VA emblem that somebody wants to put on a headstone. So
Okay.
I'd like to, the more that I've thought about it over the last few minutes, I'd like to see that added.
Okay, is there another person? I've got myself, Councilmember McConaughey, and Councilmember Bloom that want to see benches in a form that will work
Okay.
allowed. Councilmember Jacob?
Yeah, I'd also like to see benches as well. I was wondering, I kept looking through this red line version of the code, wondering what y'all were talking about, and then I realized you're talking about existing code
Right.
that you want to see changed, not changes.
Yeah.
So I'm looking through this going, what is the problem you have with this ordinance? I cannot figure this out. I'm reading the red lines over and over and over again going, this is fine. What? So I'm all ready to vote. Yay, I think this is great. I would like to see benches too. But
Okay.
I didn't have a problem with any of the changes.
Okay.
Apparently that's not the part we have problems with, so
Right.
good to know.
VA emblem, where do you stand?
Oh, I'm fine with what
Keep it?
was said. Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like we have 4 or more that would like benches added.
Okay.
4 or more that would like to add something, so someone wanting to affix a VA emblem to the tombstone doesn't have to get some special approval, that it's just allowed.
Yeah. No, that's,
And it looks like, council, that we probably want to table this to some time in the future and give staff some time to fine tooth and add those 2 items.
okay.
So
And
I would look for a motion to table Council Office Director Anderson.
Just a couple questions. I think you'd need a month, so I would say maybe a month to do that. And then what I heard was with some additional flexibility for the public to be able to memorialize their loved ones, it sounds like there might be some issues related to keeping the cemetery maintained with the appropriate number of staff. So I don't know if you want to have that included in the discussion as talking about with additional flexibility to allow the public to put material off the headstone. Are you also looking at increasing some staffing potential so that they can maintain the cemetery as well? Or are you just looking at expanding what they're able to do?
Councilmember McConaughey.
Thank you, Chair. I don't want to legislate staffing levels by ordinance in this case. Therefore, I would move to table this item till a date determined appropriate by council leadership.
Second.
I have a motion to table until a date determined by council leadership by Councilmember McConaughey, a second by Councilmember Jacob. Ms. Quick, roll call vote, please.
Please tell me one more time who motioned.
Councilmember McConaughey
Thank you.
and Councilmember Jacob was the second.
Thank you. Okay,
And are you clear on the motion?
I am. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Councilmember Jacob.
Yes.
Councilmember Pack.
Yes.
Councilmember Worthen.
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom.
Yes.
Chair Whitelock.
Yes.
Vice Chair Green.
Yes.
Councilmember McConaughey.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
Thank you
Okay.
for your time.
Oh, thank you.
We just want to work with you.
Sure,
So
no,
thank you.
we want to get it right, so that's not a problem, so.
Appreciate your
All
time.
right, thank you.
Councilmember McConaughey, did you have something?
For the next item, as soon as you're ready for a motion on minutes.
Okay. Our next item is consent items to approve meeting minutes from April 6th, May 18th, June 22nd, and consider Resolution 22-030, authorizing the pickup of certain public safety and firefighter employee retirement contributions. I'll add this is state required. Do I have a motion, Councilmember McConaughey?
Move to approve all consent items.
I will second that.
Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, it's a resolution. Yep, you're right. Thank you. Good job, Vice Chair Green. Ms. Quick, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pack.
Yes.
Chair Whitelock.
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom.
Yes.
Councilmember McConaughey.
Aye.
Vice Chair Green.
Yes.
Councilmember Worthen.
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
Wonderful, thank you. Next item on our agenda is Council Office Report. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. Just have a real short one. I know you've heard of the word PrimeGov the last several meetings. Tonight is the first meeting where we've used the new software. It's agenda management software. So far, so good. There's still additional features, but we don't want to tackle them all in one meeting. So you'll see some other enhancements as it comes. The YouTube video is now streamed directly. Also, if you look at YouTube after this meeting, if you look at the PrimeGov after this meeting and you want to view it, when you click on an agenda item, the video would automatically go to that section of video, much like we're doing the bookmarks with the YouTube video for prior council meetings. So I hope all of you have been able to view that. The website is updated now. There will also be a migration of prior meetings back to January 2020 that will show up in the PrimeGov system over the next few months as that migration takes place of our previous packets. And I don't know if, I haven't had a lot of requests from council members. You've had a few emails on how to access the system, how to view your packets, how you're able to do markups for your comments and questions that you have on the packets. I'm open to any suggestions. We've already had a couple tonight that we will talk to the PrimeGov folks with, but that's really all I have. And I just want to publicly thank our staff, specifically Cassidy and Cindy, who have really helped get the system up and going and clean the templates up. And the staff, for the mayor and Corbin, the staff have been very appreciative of the savings of time and the efficiencies that using PrimeGov will have citywide. And I think it was a wise choice, and I appreciate you funding the purchase. Thank you.
Thank you. City Council reports or comments? Anyone? Councilmember Jacob?
Thank you. Just as we were just listening to this wonderful rainstorm that just passed over, Keeping in mind we're in a drought management and stuff like that. If you got rain at your house, go home, turn off your sprinklers for a couple days, and then you can turn it back on.
Good pointer. Vice Chair Green.
Now I forgot what I was going to say. Yesterday, the Land Use Committee did meet. We had several items. We provided feedback, no formal recommendations on anything. But just so the council's aware, there was a project of about 33 units that they want to put on Redwood Road at about 92nd South that we discussed and we provided feedback. There's a development across the street from Glover Nursery that they would like to do a development. We made they wanted to rezone it to R16, but use 8,000 square foot lots, and we kind of balked at that. And so staff is going to look at maybe the bulk standards and the width so that they can maintain 8,000 square foot lots with us not going down to R16 in a neighborhood that's R110 right now. We also talked about Mountain America Credit Union wants to maybe getting out of a banking location in West Jordan, and they want to kind of convert their building over at 70th South and Redwood Road, 68 South and Redwood Road into some commercial space. So you just know that that's coming. And then we had a good discussion on the residential overlay zone, and I think some staff got some good feedback on that one. So just understand that those are a couple of the zoning issues that may be coming up in the near future that we've looked at. If you have questions, what we're hoping to do, to piggyback off on what Alan said, is right now the templates are not quite there to use PrimeGov for the committee meetings, but we're going to be there here very shortly. And so when we do a land use committee meeting or any other committee meeting, there will be an agenda in PrimeGov with the packets that you'll be able to go out and see what we looked at and what's coming up. So, and then the same thing with the Planning Commission. You're able to go see what the Planning Commission is looking at by just looking at the Planning Commission schedule. You can do that through the meeting viewer. It's super slick. And it's nice to have, and so that will happen fairly quickly. Once again, thanks to the staff for for what we did at Western Stampede. I think that was a great success. It worked well. Really glad. It was fun to participate again in the Slack breakfast. I hope we continue that as a tradition, and make sure that we advertise that to all the Cowboys. I think there was a little bit of confusion, but we got most of them fed, and that was kind of fun. And so I think it was a good 4th of July weekend, and it was a good day in West Jordan. So I think that's all I've got for now.
Vice Chair Green, did you say that the development on about 90-something South was senior housing overlay?
Oh, I forgot. No, it was senior housing overlay.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Bloom.
I just want to echo the July 4th Western Stampede. I wasn't running around like I normally have in years past for obvious reasons of COVID, post-COVID. But I do want to give a shout out to the staff and how hard the staff worked through some tears, through some smiles. But at the end of the day, it doesn't go unnoticed for what the staff did for this city and putting that on. And July 4th, I get home, I am grumpy, tired, and my neighbors are lighting off fireworks, and I live I live past 5600 West, and I was so frustrated. And as most of us had ash falling on our cars and our houses over this past week, I just want to reiterate, there's a reason why we have those boundaries. We want to protect where we live, and I will not be shy about reporting my neighbors next time, just a warning, because I care deeply. We care deeply about where we live. But at the end of the day, it was a very successful July 4th, and it was great to see the other council members show up each night to greet our residents, as I think that's important. So there's that.
Councilmember McConaughey.
Thank you, Chair. This is more of a question for staff. As Councilmember Green was talking about using PrimeGov to be able to see planning commission agendas and things like that, is this also going to be used for administrative hearings like those the zoning administrator does? Will we see those online, or are those going to follow a separate process?
I don't know, because the administrative hearing officer is a city planner, and I don't know what Scott's got planned.
I would hope that we would have everything centralized, I guess is kind of where I'm going with that.
Everything will be centralized, all the public meetings, design review board, board of adjustments, planning commission, city council. I think our code 112.1 just indicates that all committees have public minutes and agendas. The system is set up for all the executive committees, but we've got to get templates programmed, and there's, I think, 15 committees. So that's the plan.
Mr. Anderson, I somehow got kicked off of Zoom. I believe that Melissa might have her hand raised. Okay, Councilmember Worthen.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of give a quick shout out to our people out at Station 54. I was coming home one day over a couple weekends ago, and they were at the gas station on the corner of 90th and 40th, the Chevron there. Someone had dumped a bunch of oil, and they were cleaning the spill up. And I stopped in just to say hi, see what was going on, and chatted with him for a couple minutes. And as I was walking away, this young man, who must have been, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old, was walking towards the fire truck, just lit up. I mean, just such a big smile on his face. And the guys on the truck were like, "Hey, you want to see the truck? Come on over." And yeah, we'll show you. And it was just, you know what? It just warmed my heart just to see the kindness. And I guarantee you that little boy is going to remember that for the rest of his life. So I just want to give a shout out to those guys in the truck that did that and just taken a few extra minutes. I mean, literally a few extra minutes out of their day to make a child's day and probably a memory that'll last a lifetime. So just wanted to throw that out there and thank those guys for that.
Thank you. I too would like to echo my gratitude for staff that worked on Western Stampede. It appeared to be enjoyed by all that were attending. I want to give a special thanks for those that worked on a trailer for the council to be able to participate in the parade, and for the patience of both the officers and the staff. We were given direction and we followed the direction we were given. So just thank you. And I'd like to thank our office staff for the work that they do on our behalf and for working on PrimeGov. Anytime we start something new, we as humans, somewhat push back because new is scary. It takes time to learn, and we're learning. So thank you, and thank you for the patience. I will look for one final motion, unless you want to stay here. Oh, sorry, we want to go to new business. Okay, we don't. What do you want? What do you want on new business?
I didn't notice, there didn't seem to be anything on the agenda. Is there no new business?
There's one. Consider ordinance 2214 amending the 2009 West Jordan City Code, Chapter 5, Title 13, adopting Article N, Southwest Quadrant Mixed Use, amending Sections 13-5-1, zoning districts, and amending 13-7-B, site plans, citywide applicability. And on unfinished business, we have Veterans Memorial, West Jordan Cultural Arts Society contract revision, Welby West Master Development Agreement, and pet boarding amendments.
All right, I guess that might be a PrimeGov question, because when I look at the website, I don't see the little attached, the little pay-per-click icon on the left side next to new business or housekeeping.
Ah, okay.
So if there's something there. I'm pulling up, yeah, and I pulled up the PDF that was attached, and it just says new business reports, and there's a blank screen, so that's good to know that there is something.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, the other thing that I'll add is that if you want to see what's coming up on future meetings, if you log in and look at the meeting viewer, you can go to the meeting and you can see potential, and any attachments that have been added up until that point are actually there.
Yeah,
So-
that part I'm not concerned about, but is the city website where we've got the little paperclip icon next to everything where you can look at it separate. But this one, new business, and it just didn't have anything.
Ms. Quick, do you have something to share with us?
Thank you. I wanted to know, perhaps you're looking under city council reports and remarks, under new business, there's nothing there. But when you scroll down underneath adjourn, under new business there is a paper clip there. Are you seeing
Okay,
that,
below the
Councilmember
adjourn.
McConaughey?
Yeah, below the adjourn, yeah.
Yes.
Not
Maybe-
with,
Not with
not with
the,
the item, not next to the download PDF where you would,
well, not with
think
the
it
city
would
council
be.
reports and remarks.
No, it's
that
in the
part of our
separate,
agenda.
after the section break, in the next section below where you wouldn't necessarily think to look, yeah, I do see it down there.
Is there anything further? All right, now I'll look for a final motion.
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
That motion passes. We are adjourned.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hours, because mine says we're not past 10 PM yet.
We purposely, Chris, we purposely